Hello, and welcome to the FleetOwner web chat, Rolling into the Future, Driving Value with Next Generation Digital Tire Monitoring and Retreading, sponsored by Continental Tire. I'm Mindy Long, and it's my pleasure to be your host for this event. Before we begin, I want to let everyone know how to participate in today's session. If you experience any system issues, you can send a note in the question window, and our technical experts will assist you. Also, we have allotted time for questions and answers. You can type your questions into the question window and we will get to them at the end of the session. If we don't get to your question today, we'll follow up with you directly after the web chat. Joining me today are Bridney Jordan, Product Marketing Manager, Truck Tire North America for Continental Tire, and Sam Brackett, Digital Solutions Manager, the Americas for Continental Tire. Bridney and Sam, welcome.
Thanks, Mindy.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Well, I'm excited to talk with you today, and I love this concept. This isn't your father's TPMS or retreading. And I think what's especially important for fleets right now is the next wave of digital tire monitoring and retreading solutions can really help them improve the bottom line. And I wanted to start there. We know fleets have been facing some really tough challenges this year with fuel costs, labor shortages, and tire availability, just being some of the top issues that they're dealing with. And Sam, let's start with you. And can we start by talking about how digital tire solutions help fleets address all three of these issues?
Absolutely. And just for those that may not know, when we say digital solutions, we're talking about our system that allows fleets to remotely monitor their tire pressure and temperature and be able to react to any pressure issues that may arise. First of all, the fuel savings. A properly inflated tire has a direct impact on the fuel efficiency of the vehicle. And it's estimated that a fleet can lose up to 1% fuel efficiency by having a single tire on the truck underinflated by 10 PSI. And that's one tire on a truck, not all tires underinflated. Second of all, we know that labor shortages and availability of personnel is a real major pain point for fleets right now. And some of our solutions allow you to eliminate things like manual fleet checks. So if you're able to remotely and digitally monitor your tires, it allows you to not have to have somebody go around and stick every tire at the end of the day to determine if you've got a low pressure issue or not. So we have certain dealers that work with our fleets sometimes that even monitor one of our readers on their service vehicles, and they'll ride through a fleet's yard and do an inspection of all the tires without having to touch a single one of them. So it's really an opportunity to take advantage of a new technology that allows you to eliminate some of the manual day-to-day labor. And then finally, tire availability. Well, we certainly can't help with tire availability, but what we can help you do is extend the life of your tire. So having the tire properly inflated can lead to a 15% increase in your tread wear and a 20% increase in your casing, which will allow you possibly as much as an additional retreading on that tire. And speaking of retreading certainly goes to the issue of tire availability.
Absolutely. If I can chime in here too, Mindy, we're going to talk a lot about retreads, I hope, in this conversation. But with the fact that, tire shortages are present, and it's a very serious issue right now for fleets, if you are not retreading, it's an absolutely wonderful time to get into retreading, because that way we can take your casing and let it have multiple lives. So not just one life and getting rid of the tire or selling the casing asset to a dealer, but utilizing it over and over again in different wheel positions later on in life is a great way to deal with the current shortages with tires that we're having today.
Absolutely. Okay, perfect. And Sam, I want to come back to you on the percentage of overall operating costs. And what percentage of those overall operating costs do tires represent?
Yes, so tire expenditure is generally only about a 2% portion of the fleet's operating cost. But we touch a lot of other areas that directly affect the fleet's profitability. We talked about fuel savings. Everybody knows fuel prices are going through the roof right now. And having proper inflation helps address those fuel issues. Furthermore, the big one that we really help fleets with is that we help eliminate some of the roadside costs that they have to pay for. So as much as 75% of roadside issues are caused by improperly inflated tires. So if the fleet is actively monitoring their tires and addressing issues before they become a problem, that's a huge cost save for them.
Well, and one thing that we didn't talk about, but I was just thinking of it as you were saying that, is just even driver satisfaction. We know there are a lot of costs associated with driver turnover. So if you're having fewer roadside events, I'm sure you're keeping your drivers happier as well.
Not only, yes, absolutely. And not only that, it's a safety issue, which we don't even have factored into our slide here, is that, and you can't really put a price tag on that, but certainly having a blowout over the road is a dangerous thing, especially if it's on a steer tire, right? And, you know, having a vehicle parked by the side of the road is a hazard, and it's bad marketing. I mean, you don't want your logo plastered all over the side of your truck, and then everybody passing by sees you with a breakdown there. So there's other costs besides direct cost impacts that fleets have to deal with, and we go a long way to alleviating some of those.
Okay, absolutely. And Bridney, let's have you tell us some of the advantages of retread tires versus new tires.
Absolutely. So number one, it's all about the bottom line. Mindy, I think you mentioned that earlier. Retreading and retreading tires is a very cost-effective solution for fleets. You have to treat the tire as an asset, you know, and we want to maximize that investment. If you think about the cost of a new tire versus a retread, sometimes a retreaded tire can be up to a third of the cost of a brand new tire. And if you reuse that tire several times, I know for our warranty, for majority of our Continental tires, we guarantee you 3 retreads or 7 years. So if you think about that, that's 1 new tire life and then 3 retread lives after that. That's 4 lives. If the tire is, of course, properly maintained, inspected, and serviced. And that brings us to the next point, you know, talking about quality of tires. You know, we want to make sure that we partner with a dealer or retreading service affiliate that does an outstanding job with the quality of checks to make sure that the tire is properly inspected. And then just last point is just the fact that it's just environmentally friendly and sustainable. Utilizing that tire casing over and over prevents us from producing another brand new tire, and we get to reuse those components as much as possible. So that means using less natural resources like natural rubber, steel, oil, and et cetera. So we're cutting costs and at the same time being environmentally friendly, which I think are 2 awesome advantages overall.
Absolutely. And that's becoming such a greater priority for companies too. They're really documenting and wanting to keep track of what they're doing on their sustainability goals. So that makes total sense there as well. What do fleets need to know about choosing retreads for their application and or on their different tire positions? What do you help them with, and what questions do they have for you?
Absolutely. You may be surprised to know that choosing a retread is just about the same as choosing a new tire. The customer needs to identify clearly what wheel position will be putting the tire or placing the tire on. So if it's the drive position, the trailer position, those are the most common for retreaded tires. And what application? So is this a long distance fleet? Is this a regional fleet? Is it a construction fleet? The retread tire that you select should be reflecting of the characteristics that that fleet needs. So if you're a construction fleet and your main concerns are durability, and then making sure your tire has off-road capabilities, we want to make sure that the casing you're using has those belt packages to withstand that type of application, and that the retread compound is chip and chunk resistant. So it's exactly the same process as choosing a new tire. We've got to ask the right questions to get you the right product and the right application.
Okay, perfect. And then can you tell us about what tire retread programs you offer for fleets, screening casings, choosing tread design, et cetera?
Absolutely. So Continental has its own retreading process, but you'll probably be surprised to know that retreading dates back to the 1900s. The first patent for a pre-cure tread came out in 1912. So this is not a new process or new technology. Continental is just happy to be a part of that network of retreaders across the country. But the process is very simple. We have a few steps, as you guys can see there. Visual inspection, chirography, buffing, repair, skiving, extruding, building, enveloping, vulcanizing, high pressure checks, and final inspection. So what does that mean? That means we look at the tire a lot throughout this process. If there's anything wrong with it, like there's a penetration or nail hole, we remove it. We properly secure it with the right amount of rubber. And then once we're done with all those steps of actually repairing the casing, we reapply that tread. It's a very detailed process, and that's why your selection of your retread partner is very important. Continental has a huge network of company stores that do offer retreading solutions, and those stores are filled with salespeople that can help you select the right tread, answering those same questions that we discussed earlier, like your application, wheel position, and overall what you're looking to gain as a fleet, whether that's fuel efficiency, mileage, unit. We have products for each need.
Okay, very good, perfect. And Sam, I wanted to jump over to you. We had just talked about safety a little earlier, and I know when we were chatting previously, you had told me that 75% of tire-related incidents are caused by improper inflation. How can proper inflation help reduce roadside repair costs?
Right. So absolutely, you hit on it. Safety is number one, and that's what we like to lead with because, you're saving lives, not money, when you address safety issues. But certainly that $600 to $800 that you see on the screen there, that's related to the fuel savings, to the extension of the tire life, and the labor savings that you're going to realize. So we talked about some of those things already. But on top of that, you have this tremendous breakdown issue. So not only, obviously, you're having to pay for a tire. If you have to have a blowout over the road, you have to pay for somebody to come out and address it. And that can be as much as $1,200 to $1,400 right there. But you also have lost opportunity cost. If that truck is not on the road running, it's not making you money. You risk not making on-time deliveries, which is going to lead to customer dissatisfaction and potential loss of customers. And really just being, again, having the truck on the road as much as possible is the way to have a successful fleet and maximize utilization there. If the truck is sitting on the road waiting on a tire repair, you're losing money. And that's almost incalculable.
Absolutely. That customer satisfaction part is incredibly important, of course. And Sam, I also wanted to have you tell us about some of the field trials that you have done. Can you share some of that?
Sure, absolutely. So we do extensive field testing with all of our products before we go to market. This is tire pressure monitoring and having digital monitoring solutions are a little bit new, but in the U.S., I think when people think Continental Tire, they think tires. So Continental is the tire is the consumer brand in the Americas. The reality is we're the second largest automotive company in the world. And part of our product breadth includes things like digital solutions and making software solutions. So we have over 20,000 software engineers that are employed by Continental worldwide. So this is something that's very much in our, pardon the pun, but in our wheelhouse. This is something that we are very capable of, and it's not new to us. So we have at any given time, we have 80,000 wheel positions that are being remotely monitored by fleets out there in the U.S. today. And what makes us a little different is that sensor that you see emitting the signal there. So we're mounted inside the tire. So tire pressure is directly correlated with temperature. And the only way to get an accurate reading of temperature is to have that sensor mounted on the interior of the tire. So that's one thing that makes us different. I think the other thing that makes us really different is the support that we offer both before and after the sale. So we do have a network of installers and a support team that makes sure that the system is installed properly, all personnel are trained properly, and you have a system for addressing any issues that arise. The information we give fleets is only as good as their ability to act on it. So we can tell them the tire needs to be addressed. If they don't take action on it, they don't see the benefit of the system. So we really make the effort to train our fleets and make sure that they're up to speed on what they need to do, and are really kind of implementing a change management process, if you will. And then, of course, we're making sure that we're following up with them and that the system is maintained and personnel is trained and make sure that they know what to do exactly to make sure that they maximize the usage of the system.
Okay, perfect. And as part of a trial program, do you come up with a custom trial program for each fleet, or are they generally pretty similar?
Absolutely. So we have multiple solutions. Some are yard-based and some are continuous monitoring for over-the-road fleets. And we try to work with the fleet to determine the system that's going to best suit their application and the way that they operate. So we do have come in and do a consultation. We do offer free trials on all our systems. So, and sometimes fleets will try multiple products, and we'll make sure that they are understanding exactly what the benefit is, and that how they can utilize the system to maximize their efficiencies.
Okay, perfect. And I want to ask this to both of you, so whoever wants to start is welcome to, but how do you handle customer support after the sale? Is it different, I'm sure, depending on the solution?
I can start if you don't mind, Sam.
Sure.
So I talked earlier about our network of supporters and retreaders across the country here, and those are Conti Lifecycle partners. They do more than just sell tires and retread tires. They also can help a fleet manage their casing management program overall. So making sure that you guys are inflated at the right air pressure, coming in regularly for alignments, rotation, balance, etc. Those are services that these partners can provide. Talking about the digital solutions, each and every one of those Conti Lifecycle partners across the country are set up and ready to install any of our digital solutions products that we have available. So they may recommend, depending on the type of fleet, maybe a yard reader solution, but certainly making sure that each tire is intelligent so we can, again, maximize that asset, which is the tire, by monitoring air pressure regularly. So they can come up with a robust casing management program. When retreading especially, we want to make sure that we pull tires before they're fully worn down. So we have some tread to buff off and then restart that recycling or retreading process. And a great way to do that and manage to make sure that we're doing that is monitoring the tire condition, which can absolutely be done with any of our digital solutions products.
Okay, perfect. And Sam, how about you? How do you handle customer support after the sale?
So as we mentioned before, we do have a network of installers and support teams out there that have are fully equipped vehicles that come to the fleets and make sure that they are trained and able to use the system the way it's intended. And we also have back office support too. So we have a support group that handles any kind of support with our web portal and making sure that folks are understanding how to monitor the life of the tire, because we're, the fleet on the boots on the ground are very interested in the immediate things that they have to do right now to make sure that the fleet continuously operates. So if there's a low pressure alert, they need to address it immediately. But we also have a more robust back-end portal that allows fleets to monitor the health of their tires over a longer period of time and look at the history of any alerting issues. And we have a support group in our back office that helps fleets make sure that they get the maximum benefit out of utilizing that portal and using that historic data to make decisions about how they operate in the future.
Okay. And speaking of the future, I wanted to ask about, what are some of the future functionalities that you're working on?
Sure. So we're going to launch our Generation 2 sensors in the first quarter of next year. And with our new sensor, we'll be able to tell you the mileage of the individual tire. That sensor will also be Bluetooth enabled, so you'll be able to read it just with a handheld app on your phone. But we think that's important to have the individual mileage of the tire. And then when we have our Generation 3 sensors, which should launch in about 18 months, we'll be able to have tread depth predictions. So now we've got tread depth and we've got mileage of the individual tire, and we've developed certain algorithms that will allow us to take those two data points and tell fleets a predictive date of when they'll need to service the tire. So they'll know in advance how much tread life they have on the tire and when they will need to actually change the tire. So this is going to be a huge benefit, we think, for fleets to be able to plan maintenances, to be able to maximize the life of their tire, to get the most out of any kind of retread that they implement, and to make sure that they have the correct tire at the correct time and the correct place to service the vehicle. So we think this will have a huge benefit with minimizing downtime.
Okay, absolutely, which is so important for so many different reasons across the fleet. Perfect. Well, we wanted to save some time for audience questions. So we do have that. As I mentioned earlier, if we don't get to all the questions today, we will follow up directly after the webinar. So there is still time if anyone wants to pop a question in. But I will start with the first question. How do I get started with digital tire solutions? Is there a typical strategy for a fleet that's either ready to go all in or just starting to look at it?
So I would say the first step is have a discussion with your sales rep, and we can get one of our experts out there to evaluate your fleet, look at what application you're running, what type of vehicles you're running, and determine the best solution for you. And we do have some tools that will help you. It takes your input on what your labor rates are, what your fuel usage is, what your breakdown percentage is, and look at what your potential return on investment is to implement one of our solutions. So we can kind of guide you through that process of not only looking at the solution and implementing the solution, but seeing how much you can expect to realize by following a proper procedure. So that would be my recommendation. As I mentioned, if you're serious about checking one of these solutions out, we'll run a free trial for you and set a certain number of vehicles up with our system and let you play with it and see how well it works for you. But that would be my recommendation, is to reach out to your tire salesperson and let them know that you're interested in learning more about how one of our solutions can help save you some money.
Okay, perfect. And Bridney, let's actually ask you the same question of getting started with a retreading program. How do you get fleets started with that?
Absolutely. So the best way I would say would be to connect yourselves with one of our salespeople that can then connect you with the dealer. And what we want to do with a fleet is establish a tire maintenance program overall. That's going to tie directly into retreading because we're setting certain parameters for a fleet. So how much air pressure needs to be in a steer tire, drive tire, trailer tire, as an example, maybe enhancing that tire monitoring with one of our digital solutions to make it super easy for the fleet where they can log in and see it in real time, with some of our kind of Connect solutions as an example. So we want to establish that. Then we want to make sure that we're checking and rotating tires regularly. So these are the sorts of services that a dealer can provide or a fleet can be trained to do right there in-house, depending on the resources that they have available. And then we want to establish a pull point for the tires so we can pull the tires, as I mentioned earlier, to be retreaded in time. And we want to go through maybe with a salesperson and decide which retreads do we want to use. So we want to use this for the drive position. We want to use this for the trailer position. We have this new need maybe at our fleet to improve our rolling resistance or improve our fuel efficiency, and we need a more low rolling resistant retread. We have a ton of different options in our product portfolio, to meet those needs. So we want to identify the needs, establish a regular program, and then we want a servicing dealer to be able to come collect our casings, retread them through that robust 8-point process that I talked to you about, and then send the retreaded tires back so we can get them back on the truck, keep that thing rolling and driving on, right, generating value. So that's what we want to keep doing.
Okay, perfect. Our next question, Sam, I think this will be for you. Will the sensors be able to determine flat spots or gouges in a tire?
So it's something we're working on. Right now, the answer is no, but we do have some things that are being developed that would address some of those issues. I can't give you an exact date that we'll have that available, but yes, that is in our product roadmap.
Okay, perfect. Next question. Do fleets need to make updates to their digital tire solutions? Are there updates that have to be made or any, ongoing maintenance that has to be done on those? Sure.
So the fleets do need to make sure that sensors are in the tires. So, and the good thing about our tires, all of them can come, I should say, factory equipped with the sensor already in the tire. So, and if you're using a competitive tire, the sensor could be installed in a competitive tire as well. So if you're running a mix, we have a solution that'll work for your entire fleet. But that's the number one thing. So making sure that you're either ordering tires from Continental with the sensors already pre-installed, or you're having your dealer install the sensors in a competitive tire. And then, of course, there's a simple configuration process using a handheld tool when a truck first comes online. So we need to make sure that that is executed and that things are maintained. So, and to the retread question, so when a tire is retread, our sensor typically lasts 4 to 6 years. So it's going to outlast the life of your tire in most cases. So when a tire is retread, that sensor can be pulled out, the tire retread, and then reinstalled back in the tire. So our sensors are reusable.
Okay. One question, is there any type of training that's required for drivers or for, the maintenance department? And do you handle that training?
So the main thing for drivers, I think, is to make sure that they have a understanding of the expectation to react to the need to put air in the tires. And that's, and we have several different systems. So we can either have alerts that are driver facing. So if you have a tablet in your vehicle, we can alert the driver through the tablet. We have our own display unit that we can install that would alert the driver. Or if you prefer that the driver not have to be distracted by anything in the cab, we can create a pure back office solution in which all the alerts are generated through our portal and only go to the back office. All of our solutions can generate alerts via text and email as well. So and it's unlimited recipients. So we have a lot of ways of getting that information to the driver. And the main thing is that fleets need to implement an expectation level of what the driver is to do once they get the information. So who the information comes from, we can work with them to customize that. But that's the main thing that I think from the driver perspective is that fleets need to, if there's a certain threshold and it's a critical alert, address it immediately. Maybe if it's a minor alert, they are the understanding they get back to the depot and then address it. For the maintenance crew, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. We tell them when they have to react, and if they're on the ground, they need to address an issue before the truck leaves the lot. Or if it's over the road, they need to make sure that they're taking a look at it when it comes back. So we have alerts for things like slow leak. So if it picks up, say, a small nail or something and doesn't go flat immediately, it could have a slow leak issue. We can generate an alert for that. If they're running with dual tires and there's a potential for mismatched duals, so one dual is inflated more than the other, we can generate alerts for that. So it's really just making sure that there is a responsible person and then there is a protocol for addressing these issues when we bring them to our attention.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure it really helps with that decision-making process too, of knowing what needs an immediate response and what can you look at when it's a more convenient time. Okay. Well, we're nearing the end of our time together. Is there anything we haven't gotten to that you think would be helpful for our audience to know? We've covered a lot.
I was thinking of what Sam was just mentioning, and you talked many about like training and, okay, this is something that's kind of different. It's kind of new. I'm not too sure. What training do you provide? Obviously, we're here for you at Continental to make sure, we can train to answer any questions you may have. But the really cool thing about the alerts that Sam was just mentioning is you can set it up to send that information to one of our dealer partners or county lifecycle partners in our network. So let's say I'm not exactly sure what to do. Well, so obviously that servicing dealer who we have trained and, employed to service these solutions, they'll know exactly what to do. So they can get an alert immediately. It works really, really well for the fleets that are back home at night, returning to the same yard. So maybe when it comes back in, my service technicians already got the alert. You have a flat on the right rear inside. They can go right to that tire and address the need right away. We talked about retreading the tire, but repair is also a part of retreading and overall that whole process. So sending that tire back to be serviced is something that our partners could do. And it works together with our solution and notification system.
I think that's interesting too, because we did talk about, saving driver time, but we know there is such a huge technician shortage as well. So being able to save time for those technicians has to be really important for fleets as well.
Absolutely.
100%.
All right. Well, we are out of time, but thank you both so much. I want to remind our audience that the webcast will be available on the FleetOwner website free of charge, so they can access it or share it. And again, on behalf of FleetOwner, thank you, Sam and Bridney, for sharing your expertise with us today. And thank you to Continental Tire for sponsoring this event, and to our viewers for joining us. So thanks, everyone.